Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Words Have Power. How you doing? Ow. Okay, sounds like the sound is good.
Yeah, sounds fine.
Okay. Hey, Phoenix, how you doing? What's up? Hey, Maki, who's sitting over there on the couch. Alrighty. So, one particular political group is known to refer to women as vessels or hosts. And that is not true. I'm glad you're doing good, Phoenix. That is not true. Women are human beings, fully sentient human beings of our own accord. And the dehumanization of women leads directly into the dehumanization of little girls, which leads me to there's no such thing as underaged women or minor women. That's not a thing. The term you're looking for is little girls. What group? A certain conservative group. Well, all of the conservative groups, actually. Yeah. I could show you examples, but I don't feel like throwing up a little bit in my mouth right now. So the far right in America, yes. But I mean, really, it's all over the world. For whatever reason, I don't know why, conservatism always seems to lead back to the idea that women are not human. And that does not bode well for little girls, teenage girls, elderly women, women who are deceased, even, right? And that whole dehumanization of women ultimately leads to the dehumanization of other groups. It's all connected. So if LGBTQ plus people are being dehumanized, typically so are women, and vice versa. All of these human rights kind of run hand in hand. So when you have someone in the role of leadership of an entire country who is an adjudicated rapist and P3DO, who has, I think it was 7 or 8 different settlements for different children that he harmed, little girls and little boys. And not even to mention DV, a history of DV, right? How is that going to bode? How is that going to translate to an entire country when someone like that is in the White House, right? And openly says sexist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, racist stuff. That's going to translate to an entire country, potentially, thinking that it's fine to view women as not even being human. Ouch. So what does it mean when a president basically says that, a man can't even have a little spat with his wife? And basically poo-pooing the criminalization of DV. Right now, the President of the United States he's made comments effectively saying that DV should be decriminalized. Taking things back to a time when if a woman was in a DV situation and she called law enforcement for help, she would be told, talk to your husband about it. That's a family matter. It's not our problem. Back in the day, there were no DV shelters. There was no national DV hotline. What they call marital R was not a crime. So if you were married to someone, they could R you however many times they wanted to a day. And you would have no legal recourse because you were considered, if you were a woman married to a man, you were considered that man's property. And if you were a man being R'd, they would look at you as if you should get control over your significant other, over your house. And there was no help for you at all. And that's a thing that people should think about. Think about the fact that the orange Cheeto monster has decided that DV isn't such a bad idea. It's not such a big thing. Well, I'm sure he thinks it isn't because that's what he is. He's an abuser. There's a reason why mortuaries won't hire men as coroners or morticians. Yeah. I mean, and that's been a thing for a long time. Back in ancient Egypt, that was a thing. Like normally with, remains like that, they'd want to start the embalming process immediately, but actually they would wait a little bit if it was a woman. That's gross, dude. That's so gross. That's not right. So to recap, a lot of the progress that was made over the past, I'm just going to guesstimate and throw it out there, like 75 years, okay? Any progress that has been made towards civil rights for all for the past 75 years is pretty much being demolished. So over the past few weeks, I have been speaking with multiple people about a thing, and that thing is the National DV Hotline, which apparently was at least partially defunded. And some people were saying that when they called the National DV Hotline, they were either routed to a program that is meant to help pets in DV situations or routed to pregnancy crisis centers, which has what to do with DV? They don't do anything to help anyone, like at all. Well, except for the people who get paid, because they make millions of dollars off of those things. Or it was the National DV Hotline, but it seemed to be state by state, like depending on the state that you were in. What is it, pet DV? Okay, so sometimes victims of DV, along with maybe having children, they might have pets, and those pets will be in direct danger. If you leave, let's say you're in a DV situation, you have to leave out, you have to evacuate out real quick. What are you going to do with your pets if you go to a DV shelter that doesn't accept pets, right? So a lot of the time in those situations, you might have like a veterinary clinic or something that offers to board your pet until you're back on your feet and you can bring your pet home, if that makes sense. So there are actually several programs that address that problem. Because if you leave your pets behind, they might be taken to a kill shelter or brutalized. Because an abuser will take their anger out on a pet. They do that a lot. They like doing that. They'll take that anger out on children, family members, friends, your car, whatever. So it was a concern, like what's happening with the National DV hotline. That's a very important resource. But when you have someone in so-called leadership roles that doesn't care about the safety and well-being of anyone, let alone women in really dangerous situations, Dumpf does not understand and does not care about anyone, least of all someone who is in a DV situation and just wants out, just wants to be safe, right? So my question is, how do we change the narrative that is becoming more prevalent that women are just hosts or vessels and not even human, and the adultification of little girls, and also the infantilization of women? Like there's a lot going on there. So, for example, women are not hosts or vessels, okay? Little girls are not underage women or minor women. It's almost like they're trying to desensitize people to little girls being, I don't know, married. Because some states want to lower the age of consent, the age that a child can be married off, just all kinds of bad things. What do y'all think? I know it may be a bit early for some people, this stream, but how are y'all thinking, feeling, doing? What? Okay. I don't know. I'm of the opinion that, sorry, I'm getting messages. I'm of the opinion that any politician who calls a woman a host or a vessel, like a cow, on a farm, that they should be fired on the spot, because they're obviously not able to comprehend the difference between a barnyard animal and a human being. And that's a problem. Like, what the actual F? Yes, I'm referencing specific situations. It's pretty pathetic, but hello to everyone who's on here. How you doing? What's up? What do you think about the name of this stream? What do you think about people who think that women are not human? Which I find funny, because if a woman's not human and you want her to have babies, I guess she's not going to have human babies, right? Like, what? That just makes no sense to me. There's no logic. Where's the logic? Where did it go? It just flew out the fucking window, I guess. So, yeah. So in my DMs on the other app, especially in my DM requests, I will have random dudes. See, before they couldn't send me like photos, but now they can send me photos. So I'll receive D pics. I will receive like opportunities of a lifetime that they can be my sugar daddy. Make all politicians swear under penalty of being removed from power, subsequently barred from any leadership position, regardless of the sector, to not let religious dogma dictate measures. I mean, that's probably a good idea. I don't know. If I was in a workplace and I was a man and I made the broad statement that women are like barnyard animals and just hosts or vessels for man's swimmers, I would be fired immediately. Like I would immediately, okay. They might maybe possibly give me a box to pack my shit in and get the fuck out if I was lucky. Right? Right? But these politicians can sit there and just do this and it's fine. I mean, people like that don't need to be in a position of authority, because anyone who has dehumanized women to that point, okay, is just going to try to use any little bit of authority they might get. They're going to try to use that to hurt people. And who are they going to try to hurt? Anyone they view as weaker than them. So children, women, LGBTQ people, anyone from any marginalized community. Trust and believe. So in the academy, well, even before that, and I think there was the 30-hour course or 90-hour, I can't remember. They went into the Stanford prison experiment, and then so there was the initial documentary and literature pertaining to that, and then there's the kind of follow-up stuff. And they use that to talk about people who get into positions of authority. How do they use that authority? Will they use it for the betterment of people or to keep people safe? Or will they use it for their own gain in some way? Will their ego take over and will they leave behind any empathy or compassion or care for the people under their authority? And it was really interesting. My one FTO had some papers, like actual hard copies of papers that he let me read. It was really eye-opening. And I basically borderline strong-armed my classmates to read those papers because I thought it was really important that we all have a really good understanding of that. Because if you're going to be a correctional officer, you should be forced to read certain materials so that you understand you're not above the people under your care. You're not above anyone. And the people under your care, the inmates, are still human beings, right? That's the point. You got to watch out for dehumanization of people. So I may not like the GOP or MAGA because they are failing at being good patriots, but that does not mean that they are not human beings. I'm not going to dehumanize them. Ron Jones and his third wave experiment. Wait, what? Is this a rabbit hole that's going to make me throw up a little bit in my mouth? I don't think I know that one. I do know about Nick Fuentes and his psychos. I've been trying to warn people about that dude for years. And apparently people still don't understand how toxic that group is. Like, they will purposefully force men who are not manly enough to, take it for the team and be girlfriends for the manly men in that group, like, for real. If the RNC is so morally perfect, why is it that Grindr crashes several times at their conventions? And it happens all the time. Like, they're eyeball deep in the closet and they hate themselves. That's why. He was a high school teacher who, during a course in World War II Germany, started a social experiment that got a bit out of hand on how Germany could have easily fallen into fascism. Oh, really? World War II Germany just creeps me out so hard. It's really hard for me to... I might have to go look into that, though. I'm going to put this up here so I can easily find it. Oh, it was in 1967, right? Okay. I'll look into it. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Anyone can be sucked into a toxic group. Anyone can be. So, and there are so many pipelines. Did you know that there's a crochet to psycho pipeline? Yeah, true. Threat arts. They will try to target women, young people, men, of course. And there are just tons of pipelines. And I've picked up on a few that go from... It seemed to go from thread arts, right, to like crunchy granola type stuff, to trad wife, which leads to conservatism. It was weird. Oh, right on. Could you also put this link in the comments outside of the chat? I'm gonna have to go check that out after this live stream. And the sad thing is, once someone is sucked into these groups and you start getting that group think going, it's next to impossible to pull someone out. They have to pull themselves out. Like, I have seen people who were once feminists who at one point understood why women's rights are so important. One woman in particular, I know for a fact, has ended at least one pregnancy that I know of, but all of a sudden is like pro-choice, or I'm sorry, pro-life, but it's not actually pro-life. It's forced birth. This person understood how hard it could be for a woman in a male-dominated field, in a factory. But now she has bought all of the BS hook, line, and sinker. Now, there are two things when it comes to destructive groups. Two groups of people who can easily be sucked into a destructive group. Smart people can easily be sucked into a destructive group. And also, and I'm not saying this to be mean, also, people who have brain damage. Now, from everything that I've read, it seems like a lot of the time smart people think that, they'll see through it and they would never get sucked in. But in reality, anyone can be sucked into a toxic group. And toxic groups don't have to be religious. What do you do when almost all of the media has bent the knee to a tyrant? Freedom of speech is on the chopping block now, right? It's freedom of speech unless you say something that the orange wonder doesn't agree with. If he doesn't agree with what you're saying, then you might get a knock on the door, right? That's not freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, if you want to be hateful and say just horrific things, it's fine, right? Unless you want to say, you know what, I don't like people who are hateful. I don't like people who say racist, bigoted, sexist, misogynistic things. I don't like that. Well, then, God forbid, right? Rights for me, but not for thee. Exactly. And see, that's part of the problem with a lot of toxic people. And it can be a DV situation. Okay. Quite often, they expect you to people please. That's what they're demanding you do. People please. Please the dictator wannabe. Kiss his whole ass. And when he's surrounded by sycophants, and that's all they do is just praise him every chance they get because that's the only way to keep him happy. Right? It's almost like the US is currently in a nationwide DV situation. Me too. Very much so. And what happens in DV situations? Isolation. Abusers cannot function fully or properly if they cannot isolate you. Control of information. What you can or cannot know or say or do, who you can interact with, who you cannot interact with. Accusations that are baseless, just completely baseless and have no foundation in reality. Abusers love that. So, in the past, if a woman was pregnant and either shouldn't be for her health or for her finances, she would have to go through great lengths to find somebody who could help her end the pregnancy, or just to get a D&C if there was a miscarriage, ectopic pregnancy, any of that. They're taking you back to that now. At some point, you're going to start hearing about, well, this woman's daughter or granddaughter passed away because of an ectopic pregnancy or what have you. Things that are easily remedied through healthcare. Women and children, little girls, teenage girls, are going to start losing their lives because they don't have full access to healthcare. There will be people who unalive themselves because they don't want to be pregnant, either for financial reasons or maybe they were ARD and they're just not interested in carrying the offspring of the arist. Judge not, lest ye be judged thyself. I find it stunningly ignorant to demand that a person with a uterus create a life against their will. That's disgusting. That is dehumanizing. So I'm going to say again, women are human beings, not vessels, not hosts. If men want to have babies that bad, grow a fucking uterus. for yourself and carry that life yourself. Carry that pregnancy yourself. Give birth yourself. Breastfeed yourself. Take care of that first year. That first year is hard. Okay, that's some hard work. Do that your damn self. All right? I don't know, man. Oh, also, just say it again. There's no such thing as minor women or underage women. Those are little girls. I'm going to keep saying this. I'm also going to keep saying that 5 of my former colleagues who were victims advocates were abducted off the streets of the United States, and we don't know where they are. And this has been a few months now. I mean, I've done that 3 times. Ouch. And then the recovery time afterward. So, and while you're recovering, you're supposed to take care of a brand new human being. It's terrifying. Okay. Like, it's a wonder anyone has a baby. And God forbid if you have to have a cesarean. And if that cesarean gets an infection or something, some kind of complication, or like my girlfriend Elle, she had a miscarriage, almost died. They wanted to charge her with murder for miscarrying a very much wanted pregnancy, to the point that she left the US and moved away to another country. And the doctor forgot some stuff in her abdomen. So some gauze and I don't know what all. So she had to have surgery again to remove that stuff. Like, meanwhile, here, when I went to the doctor this week, is part of the reason I haven't live streamed that much, because there's been like health stuff and stuff. When I went to the doctor here, we sat down. They listened to me. They asked me questions. They were concerned, and I could tell. It was like night and day. I was not told that I was panicking or had anxiety or depression or any of that. Like, it was, I think I'm still in shock. Completely different experience in a really good way. So in the US, they're going to push girls to have more babies with no health care. No care if you have a miscarriage or an ectopic pregnancy or any kind of complication. Okay. No health insurance. No WIC. No SNAP. No safety nets of any kind. And if you say, well, I didn't want to be pregnant, well, they'll say, well, you should have kept your legs closed. Meanwhile, men will bitch, whine, moan, and everything else to get the punani, but they don't want to be responsible for their swimmers. Women are yet again left high and dry, out in the middle of nowhere with no resources, right? So how does it make sense for women in the US to even contemplate having a child? And then no safety nets of any kind, no safety nets whatsoever after you have the baby. So no help with childcare. They're going to make it harder and harder to work. No health insurance. No nothing. And food banks and community gardens, I know of several that have had to close because they were receiving grants and funding from the federal government, which stopped because of Doge. You're going to see crime stats just skyrocketing. nationally real soon. Because how many people are out of work because of Doge? How many people are out of work because of the Trump administration? Now add on to that all of the companies that are closing because of the tariffs. Add on to that all of the companies that either were being built or were going to be built but aren't anymore because a hose beast had to make a call to ICE for the people who were going to train the workers, the American workers, to work in the factories. How many people are out of work now? And for the foreseeable future will be. Because Dumpf failed. He's a failure. He destroys everything he touches. He bankrupts casinos. For Christ's sake. How the fuck do you bankrupt a casino? I still want to know. Does anyone know? Seriously. Does anyone know how you bankrupt a fucking casino? Because I can't. You gotta be dumb as a tree stump. Okay. I shouldn't say that. Tree stumps have a purpose in life. Like, actually really important purposes. But stunning. Stunning. I don't know. I'm of the opinion that it would be a really good idea for women to come together and create groups. There are all over the US. There are intentional communities coming up. Yep. And I find that beautiful. I just had a message come in that's not great. All right, I'm going to jump off here. I might try to live stream again later. All right, y'all. I love you. Thank you for being here. And think of some ideas for things that you might want me to talk about. There's a lot going on. So, I mean, there's no end to the possibilities. So if there's something that you have questions about, like DV related or any of that, put it in the comments. Give me your thoughts and your ideas. Also, I guess there's this new thing you can do where you can hype videos or something. I don't know what that is or what that means, but if you don't mind, like, subscribe, ring the bell, hit all, do all the things, whatever this hype videos thing is, whatever that is, if you don't mind. Every little bit helps. You put things in the comments. Thank you. So yeah. And remember, you have the right to say no. Your no should be respected. And also, women are human beings. There's no such thing as a minor woman or an underaged woman. Those are little girls. And little girls are not grown women. So I never would. If you had told me 10 years ago I would even have to say this, these words would even have to come out of my mouth, I would have laughed at you so hard and been like, what are you even talking about? But this is what happens when you have a psycho and his merry band of other psychos running things, and people just buy into it and just lose their sense of self-worth. God damn, if you're a woman, I don't understand how you can be a dump supporter or any of that. Like, I don't get it. All right, y'all. I have to go check these messages, and I might try to live stream later on when it's a bit later when more people can be on. All right. Love y'all. Bye.